Oh, sorry about that. And I'm back. I just got cut off there. So yeah, I forget what I was in the process of saying, but the point I was getting at is when we were children, whatever we were subjugated to, whether it was, and it's not just religious beliefs, but if we were subjugated to religious beliefs or religious upbringing, whether our parents were rich or poor, whatever was around us, whatever was said to us, if your parent was constantly telling you you're never going to amount to anything over and over again, well, that's how this stuff plays out. That's how it happens. You get programmed that way. If you had parents that told you can do anything and you're good at anything, well, then you're going to prosper, and anything you try or do, you are going to be good at, And also, like, what people think about you can also have an effect on you as well, and all that. But the programming comes from, your parents, your teachers, your parents' friends, your family, all that stuff. But what I was getting at was whatever programming is in you. If we take religion again, for example, that religious programming is going to be what works. What you do is going to be in line with that, has to be in line with that. And if what you're doing is against that, so if you have religious programming inserted into you and you're trying to do magic, which religion is, if we take the Roman Catholic religion once again, since it's mine, so I know what's in it, witchcraft, magic, and all that is of the devil. So if you have that programming in you and you haven't changed it, well, your magic's not going to work, or it's going to backfire. One of the two. You're going to have an internal conflict. So that's why we have to do the reprogramming. So if over the time while you're doing your studies, while you're reading these books, while you're doing your dishes and you have it on in the background over a period of time, and that once again will depend on how fast it gets into your subconscious mind and how often you do things. If only once a week you put on the book, and it takes you like a year to finish a book, one book, because you're only listening to something once a week, well, yeah, it's going to take longer. It will get in there, but it's going to take longer. And the fastest way to do it would be every day, as much as you can during that day, straight fucking 8 hours of listening to the same content while you sleep, while you're awake, while your sleep is great, which is why I go to bed with occult books all the time, which could be dangerous if there's some bad information in that book, and I'm absorbing it while I sleep. But the faster you get this info into you, the faster your magic's going to work, and the better, and the stronger, because it's in line with what you're doing. It has to be in line with what you're doing. If it's not in line with what you're doing, then it will not work. So, like I said, if you write down a list of what you believe you're subjugated to, what those beliefs, the programming that was inserted into you. So if you write down your belief, your programs, things that were put in your subconscious, okay? Now, after you have a list of whatever you think it is, it doesn't have to be fancy, and you can play with this, and you don't have to do exactly how I write it. But after you write all those things, maybe put a statement down there saying that none of these are your opinion or belief, and was inserted to you without your knowledge or consent. You put down there poverty mindset, Roman Catholic mindset. Both of these were inserted in me as a child without consent. Okay, and now maybe you write the beliefs that you want to put in there. So I want a financially abundant, wealthy mindset. That money is not evil. Money is just energy. Money is kind of just like people think of magic as bad, but magic's not bad. The practitioners can be either bad or good, or what you should be is in the middle. Same with money. It's not bad or good. It's what you do with it is bad or good. So you write down your list of the things you want to put in there, and now after that, I would write that you banish the belief systems and programmings that were inserted into you without your consent, or they were forced into your mind, and I've replaced them with these new ones. Now you can make it a nice paragraph, a nice essay form, or you could just point blank them. Now if you identified like 5 things that were forced into you, and you have like 10 that you want to put in there, that's great, keep them on a list. But if you're going to make a little statement, affirmation type, hypnotist kind of script dealy, maybe just do 5 and 5, because Uncle Birch at the witch school says when you banish, you must invoke. If you're taking something out of your mind, all right, whatever you do in magic, it will happen. If you do a ritual to take something out of your mind, or you're reprogramming your mind or whatever, that's why it's called reprogramming. So you got to put something in there. So if you just take it out, it'll come up for a time, but nature needs to fill up that hole, so it's going to put back what was previously already there. So when you banish, you must invoke. So that's why I say, if you have 5, put in 5, but keep the other ones too, because when the moon waxes, we cast for stuff. When the moon wanes, we banish stuff. So it's always a good thing to have a list of things you want to do. Now, you should focus on one thing at a time, which would mean take which one of these are the most popular, the most important to you. If money is an issue right now, let's work on the money thing. Although the religious belief can affect your money if you think magic is of the devil in your subconscious. You may not believe that on a conscious level, but the programming is the one that runs your fucking reality, and that's why you need to change that shit ASAP. So just by changing your religious beliefs, you can manifest money, and this is how. You don't have to necessarily cast for 10 grand and get it, which could happen, and has happened for me. But by changing religious beliefs, not only is your magic going to work, and a whole bunch of things, you may be getting more money, because part of my religious beliefs, my old religious beliefs, my old Roman Catholic belief was that, the poor and the meek shall inherit the earth, or however that fucking beatitude goes, or whatever, meaning, the poor people are the ones going to heaven, and the rich people are going to hell, And you may not even remember that or know that, but that still doesn't mean it's not in you somewhere. And it might be the reason why you can't get money. So just by switching your religious upbringing, if it is similar to mine anyways, or anyone similar to the Roman Catholic religion, you may be able to manifest money just by switching that one thing. Now they say to start with something small in magic, but this is something you should be doing because it takes time. If you do this every day, it can take 21 days to a month, and that's best case, quickest scenario. Worst case, it could take a couple of years. So you're gonna make a little statement like that, which you're gonna use in ritual as like a symbolic thing you're gonna banish. Not banish the ones you want to put in your mind, but banish the negative ones. All right. And even just by burning that paper that you just wrote, let's say in a ritual, you read it out after you do all your ritual stuff you do. You normally do ask for whatever you want, or however you're going to do it in the middle of the ritual after you do all your opening things. But yeah, that's using fire to get into the astral, and kind of magic witch speak, I guess, because now you're taking that paper and you're transforming it into smoke, and then boom. Just because you don't see it anymore doesn't mean it ain't there. It's gone to the astral to be worked out. And with that paper gone, you're not going to think about it either, That's kind of like putting it into your subconscious mind in a way. But anyways, I'll give you a little example of how I would write something like this. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like this, but I gave up and banished programming, paradigms, and thought processes that no longer serve me, and have been replacing them with new belief programs and paradigms. They are the following. I released the lack mindset that wasn't mine and replaced it with an abundant mindset. I removed a worry, anxious, stressful program that wasn't mine and replaced it with a grateful, thankful, creative mindset, of which be the change you want to see and happen. I banished the victim blaming other mindset for all that I didn't like, or for unfavorable situations, addictions, and circumstance, and program myself to have faith in the divine and the universal laws, and by focusing on what I want and taking action and steps towards it, knowing within the universal laws that I will manifest and can create my life in reality how I want it. I reject my programmed fears of evil, hell, and all fear topics, and now know that there is nothing to fear, that all things, circumstances, and experiences are for the development involvement and for my development, evolvement and ascension into a balanced, grounded, knowledgeable, wise being that helps others when possible, but focus on self-transformation. I have practiced depolarization and am balanced. I am balanced and understand that all is good, all is bad, all is both, all is neither, all is all. I forgive all I have been wronged by and ask all I have harmed for forgiveness and release the conflict and blame and take ownership and learned lessons that were essential to my growth. I now truly understand we're all part of our creator source, prime creator, the electrical spirit, life current that gives life to all above, all below, all within, all without. I replace all old paradigm programmings of money, power, success as being evil and was not my opinion or my mindset, and have reprogrammed my mindset that money, power, wealth, and abundance are beautiful, essential, and a part of my mindset. So that's just an example of how I would write it. I wrote this pretty fast right before doing this, so it was kind of shitty, so I'm sorry about the shitty parts that may not make sense. I don't rehearse this shit, and that's the first thing I've ever said that I haven't, or that hasn't been off the top of my head. It's the first thing I've read to you guys. But so you make that statement, banishing the one and invoking the other, and take your phone out or whatever you have a recording device on, and I would record that on the phone. And you can add to it as you go along, especially the way I did it. I kind of explained it in a different way, as write down what's in there that you want to banish and make it. But the way I did, I can keep adding different statements onto that, and then just take the recording and add some recorded content to that recording. And that recording that you just recorded, banishing one and invoking another, I would lay down to that, and before bed, play that every single night. Reading that, saying that out loud during the day will help if you have the time, but if not, this is how you can do affirmations without actually doing affirmations. They tell you how to do an affirmation like 1,000 times a day. Well, that's how you can do it without having to do it, because it's your voice and it's going right in your head. Before sleep is like kind of that meditative state that everybody gets into. That's why I think it's funny when people say they can't meditate. Well, most people kind of get to that state and they just go to sleep, but that way it'll get right in your mind. You do that every night, and it's a good way to do it. It's a good way to get that in your head. And like I said, you can use the other stuff in ritual as a symbolic, banishing that and invoking something else. And that's kind of like a hypnosis slash affirmation way to reprogram your mind. Birch talks about that on his channel. He's got videos. You should really check them out on FreakPhil1309 on YouTube. It's a great thing. It's what inspired this. The Mind and Magic Creator Xavier also talks about that as well. So yeah, that's how I went about doing it. And like I said, this is something I did before I even got into ritual magic, and it worked. Because now the next thing I'm going to talk about, I'm going to have time to talk about it now because I'm almost up. But my first manifestation was done with this. I wrote down all the things I wanted. I wrote down I wanted a second vehicle. I wanted to be able to stay home with my daughter, and I wanted $10,000 to start a new business. And I had no ritual magic at that point. I was reading the Kabbalion, but hadn't finished it yet. I was probably only on the first one, the Law of Mentalism, and I was watching a whole lot of New Age stuff on probably the Higher Self channel on YouTube, which you should check out if you ever have time. And all those things came true, and that's probably what I'm going to talk about next time. But choose what you want to put in your head. Whatever you put into your mind will manifest. It has no choice to. But you have to have the right programming in there to run the program. You're putting in the software inside your mind so you can execute these different apps. You can't run fucking Apple apps on on Windows, right? It's kind of like that, right? Your old paradigm would be the fucking Windows, and the new one would be the Macintosh. You know, they're not going to work together. You got to put the right